Kansas is oh, that's read wrong. Kansas is not boring. According to my fellow Kansas explorer, Pam Paulsen, she's going to remind us that our state has so much natural beauty to offer. These amazing places are right in our backyard and should be on everyone's Explore Kansas bucket list.
Okay, well, Kansas has formed over millions of years. We were an ocean. We weren't an ocean. This was an ocean. That wasn't an ocean. We had glaciers. We have dust from the Rocky Mountains. We have silt from the rivers. So it creates a lot of natural beauty that we don't really think about when somebody tells you Kansas is flat. Don't even believe them. So we're going to kind of travel through Kansas to some of the places I like to visit. This is Smoky Valley Ranch up in Logan County, and these are chalk formations that were formed 80 to 100 million years ago. So there's fossils all through here. This is a site that's run by the Nature Conservancy, and they've got some trails there, but what they're working on is on the bottom there is Little Jerusalem. Monument Rocks in Gove County is also chalk formations from 80 to 100 million years ago. This is on private property, but they let you drive through and wander through the chalk formations. Again, you can see fossils from sharks to fish to plants in there. You can see the different striations in the rocks too. Lake Scott State Park is a beautiful state lake, but they've got some very unique areas. This top left picture is the only home in the world for the Scott riffle beetle. On the right are Pueblo ruins, which are the northernmost ruins in North America. And then Battle Canyon is when the Cheyenne battled the U.S. troops. Big Basin Prairie Preserve is about a mile-long sinkhole in Clark County. And in one part of it is St. Jacob's Well, which is a spring that's never gone dry. It's about 600 feet deep, and it's where cattle drovers and Native Americans would stop on their way. Cheyenne Bottoms is in Barton County near Great Bend. It is one of the most important flyways for bird migration in the Western Hemisphere. They get probably tens of thousands of birds there in spring and fall that migrate through. They do tours at sunrise for the prairie chickens. It's one of my favorite places for sunrises as well. Quivira Wildlife Refuge in Stafford County is just a few miles from here. It's also one of the most important flyway migration areas, but it's a saltwater marsh. And they get hundreds of thousands of sandhill cranes spring and fall. If you go out there in the evening, the sound is just incredible. It's also one of my favorite places for sunrises and sunsets. But in the springtime, it's also one of my favorite places for wildflowers. May and June is a great time to drive through there. And I always see deer. Every time I drive through there, there's deer. The Gyp Hills, or the Red Hills, is in Barber County. And this, you don't even think you're in Kansas anymore. There's iron oxide in the soils, and so there's all kinds of different formations, and the soil is red like this. But the gypsum in the soil is where Medicine Lodge got its name, because the Native Americans would sit in springs, and that gypsum is like Epsom salts and would cure their ailments. Mushroom Rock is a state park in Ellsworth County, and Rock City is a local park in Ottawa County. And these, again, were formed from the sand or the chalk formations, but then as the ocean swirled, they deposit sand through there and form these concretions. Rock City is about the largest one in North America. This is Lourdes Park in Concordia in Cloud County, and it's actually the St. Joseph's Mother House of Nazareth. It's the worldwide mother house of this convent, but they started in France and then came to Kansas when the pioneers came, but they've got a replica grotto from France from their original home. Alcove Springs is up by Blue Rapids in Marshall County, and this is a natural spring area that's always flowing, but it's a stop for the Native Americans and pioneers on the Oregon Trail, so they have carved their names and their dates when they were there. The Donner Party named it Alcove Springs, and so they've carved it in there. Sarah Keyes was the mother of one of the Donner Party members, and she passed away actually there, so there's a monument to her, and you can see James Reed has carved his initials in there. He's the one that said, let's go this way instead of that way, when the Donner Party came through. Maxwell Wildlife Refuge is just near Canton. in McPherson County. It's now a state park or run by state wildlife. They've got about 160 bison and about 80 head of elk there. You can see the elk in the wintertime more, but it's open. They do tours, but there's an open road, public road that you can go through, and it's open range, so you can see them wandering on the road. But it's also another one of my favorite places for wildflowers, May and June, and there's also all kinds of other wildlife that's out there. We're going out there tomorrow at sunrise to shoot the bison for photography. So we're leaving at 5:30 tomorrow morning. But Riggs Arboretum in Kingman County and Bartlett Arboretum in Sumner County are two historic arboretums. They're both privately owned. Riggs Arboretum is run by the grandson now, and it's considered the oldest arboretum west of the Mississippi. Many of our ornamental trees that we see here in Kansas actually originated there. Cross Timbers State Park is in Woodson County, and they've got a number of trails there, but this is my favorite. This is the Ancient Tree Trail, and they've got trees that they've dated back to 400 or 500 years old, and then they put signs there saying what happened in history when those trees were sprouting. And then the Flint Hills, there's only about 4% left of the tallgrass prairie, and most of it's here in Kansas. There's a Flint Hills Wildlife Drive that takes you through the back roads down into the Flint Hills. It ends at Teeter Rock on the south and Camp Creek at the north. Make sure you've got a good spare tire when you're wandering through there. And then we never think of Kansas as having waterfalls, but there's all kinds of waterfalls in Kansas. There's some that are man-made that are a number of the state fishing lakes, but then there's some natural ones. Pillsbury Crossing is just outside of Manhattan, and Elk Falls is down in the southeast part of the state. And then there's lots of references. I encourage everyone to just take the back roads and wander because we have so much beauty that you really don't think of when you think of Kansas, but it's out there if you wander the back roads and really look closely. Thank you.